Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black 91. I am here having the honor to sit down with Shawn from Ready to Love. Now, audience members, I know you guys had strong thoughts and strong opinions. You saw him on your screen, and we all made our deductions left, right, and center. But I've got him here so we can have a conversation and get to know him better, and also as well to tap in some of the scenes that we saw alongside the show. How you doing today, Shawn? You all right?
I'm beautiful, brother. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. That's what we like to see. That's what I like to see, bro. It's good to have you on here. We've got some key questions we want to be asking you and stuff because you did obviously shape a little bit of the show with some of the scenes that you had, mainly with Sabrina. And we saw the firing squad. That also brought a bit of a debate amongst the audience as well. So that was interesting to see, and they want to know. This is one of the key questions. They want to know about whether Shawn has got a job. That is a key thing they're asking right now, but we won't touch it just yet. We won't touch it just yet. You know what I mean? But that's one of the key things.
I'm broadcasting from a homeless shelter, right?
Yeah. Hey, there's no roof on your home right now. That's what they're trying to say.
Where I lay my hat is where I live.
That's it. A pillow for a bed, sewn for a pillow. But before we get to that kind of stage and address those kind of issues that we have, we want to get to know you a bit better because, like I said, the show has a way of portraying people in a certain light, and you came in the middle of it as well, right? And you came in blockbusting, shirt open, abs on glare, you know what I'm saying, coming out like a museum piece, all right? But we want to know who you are outside of the show. But before we do, I like to do something called human verification, just to help us break the ice. You know what I'm saying? So some funny questions here. Right. One of my first funny questions is BMW, Audi, Lexus, Dodge, Mercedes. Which one do you choose and what color?
First, how does Dodge get in there?
I have no clue.
Dodge. I used to have a Dodge Durango, by the way. So the answer is no. Not that one, but it's an Audi.
It's an Audi. Okay.
It's an Audi, and it is sterling silver.
I like that. Sterling silver is cool, especially for an Audi. It's a very nice color. Okay, cool. Second question: milk or cereal in first?
I've heard this question before, and I'm like, no pun intended. What serial killer puts the milk in first before they put in the cereal? If you do that, you also like have peanut butter and jelly in the same jar, and you probably write notes like a ransom like kidnappers. Your typewriter gives out like little cutout letters for words. No, the milk is after you put in the cereal.
I mean, I think anyone who puts milk in after the cereal is also a serial killer.
Yes,
you're out here drowning the cereal, but
literally.
No worse. Yeah, literally drowning the cereal. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Can't have that. We can't have that.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm gonna let you have that one. I'm not gonna say nothing too tough. Okay, and then my final question. One has to go. It's my final question. One has to go. Okay, we got Boys to Men, Belle Biv DeVoe, Drew Hill, Jagged Edge. One has to go.
My A-Town peeps, I love you because I'm from the GA, but Drew Hill, not Drew Hill. We're going to get rid of Jagged Edge. Excuse me. Jagged Edge got to go. I mean, we don't know who those boys' names anyway. It's like the Twins and the other short jokers. We don't know who they are. What, we're going to sing married songs all the time? No.
Let's get married.
Yeah, it's tough, but no, you got to have BBD. Boys to Men, I literally graduated with around that time. That's and the other one, what was the other one was again?
Was it boy?
Drew Hill? Yeah, Drew Hill. Drew Hill's underrated.
Drew Hill. I love a bit of Drew Hill, I'm not gonna lie to you. Somebody sleeping in my bed.
Yeah,
they got some songs. Shout out Cisco too. Okay, cool. You've passed human verification. We know you're human, we know you're not an android. So, thank God, hallelujah. Question as well. Are you iPhone user or Android?
Spotify. So that's technically Android. It's not iPhone. So yes.
We know you're a sensible lad now. All right, I'm an Android too. So we obviously like to give people the opportunity to kind of like, set a foundation for the rest of the audience to kind of see who they are. So I like to ask this question. Who is Shawn and what is his story?
So my full name is Jermel Deshawn Durham, born out of Macon, Georgia, to Joseph and Julia Durham, high school sweethearts, and they were together until my dad passed away in 2010. They were also business owners, and they worked together. My dad was a barber, my mom was a cosmetologist, and they were each other's best friends. I'm the fourth of six living children. I'm the middle child, and the reason I start with that basis, especially with my mom and dad, is that gives me the background for everything that I am. I think to go on a small little tangent, which I might do quite a bit, but I think you're almost like going through a degree of education now. That's how rare it feels to be a man, to have seen a Black man and a Black woman together. Especially like my mom and dad. They were each other's best friends. They were on each other's same wavelength when it came to dealing with children. And they didn't want to be too separate from each other. And they worked together as a business team. And so much we talk about people saying, do you, or this is about me, YOLO, or whatever other little cute sayings people put out there. People talk about they want a man or a woman, but they don't talk about relating in a relationship. And so that's my background. So I went to the University of Georgia for college, studied social science education, but I'm a Sagittarian. So I have a lot of interests. And I came out not just with social science education, I came out writing and I became a journalist. So I was a journalist for 3 newspapers. The last newspaper was in Durham, North Carolina, the Herald Sun newspaper. I was a columnist as well. And I actually, I wasn't syndicated, but after I was laid off from that newspaper, I was writing for a couple of newspapers here and there. Last newspaper I wrote for was, it's a Montreal paper. I wrote something for Montreal a couple of years back. But my background is journalism. I transitioned from that to corporate communications. So I was a corporate communication official, the only Black man in that job for a very popular insurance company based here in Washington, D.C. And with a mascot that may have an accent similar to yours, right? So that's what I'll say about that. I did that job for about a decade. My dad passed away around 8 years into that job. My 10-year anniversary was coming up. John Roberts, Chief Justice, sided with the 4 liberals to uphold Obamacare. And I said, to hell with it. And I quit. Just gave a 2-week notice. Everything lined up. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just said I quit. And then I wrote a book. And I wrote a book, which we can get more into later, that I wanted to promote. And I promoted the book through a one-man show where I played all 4 characters of the book and broke them out into narratives and 4 little short films that introduced each character before I got on stage. It was called 4 Broke Guys Live. It was a comedy, it was a drama, and it was also a passion of mine because I had written so many articles and stories about men trying to figure out their space in the world, particularly Black men in the 21st century. You know, if women can provide for themselves, then what is your role in manhood? Do you abdicate your power? Or do you still have power by being a baseline of strength and conviction? Because, everybody can do what they want to do, right? Okay, cool. There's plenty of well-to-do women. I've dated well-to-do women. But what they want me to be is the strongest, most confident man I can be. And a woman in a relationship reserves the right to change her mind. So she can have all these degrees or what have you, but a friend of mine had this happen to him. His wife was like, immediately after she got her doctorate and paid all this money for this stuff, she's like, I think I want to be a stay-at-home mom. He said, wait a minute, we got to talk about this. He's still the backstop. Men, we got to be the backstop. And so these are things in my discussions. And that was part of the story, 4 Broke Guys. And so that one-man show launched my career into acting and writing and doing other things because I lost use of my hand through a bus accident that occurred 20 years ago. I was the only person on a bus, and the bus flipped over on its side. I hit my head on something, and they checked me out. Everything seemed to be okay. I have small tingling, but the year that I quit my job and needed that insurance, I had to have surgery because my spine had compressed over the years since the bus accident. And it sent a shooting pain down my left side, and it felt like I had a cleaver in my back, and I lost use of my left hand. Now, being that I had made all of my money in my adult life as a writer, that was a real challenge to not have my left hand. So I was sort of thrust by God by the emergency of it, by having that surgery. What they did, they went through here to get to the spine, raised up the vertebrae, and put some bone marrow from my hip back there until it healed up. So I couldn't do manual labor of any sort. I couldn't do my artistic regular craft by typing or writing because I didn't have that usage yet with the hand. And so only thing I had was my looks. So I started to model and be used for photographs or what have you, or I started my acting career through that one-man show that I put on, which I had a Kickstarter for, and strangers gave me $5,000 to do a show. Film the show, do it 2 times in a home theater in Macon, Georgia, where I'm born and raised. And the crowd loved it, great energy, just enough footage for me to have clips so I can do more acting, more modeling, more spokesman work. I do a lot of pitching. And that started the baselines of me becoming a self-made man. And so now today, I have my hats in a number of things. So the whole thing about, do I have a job? I do not have a job. Everyone else has a job. I'm living my life.
Come on.
I live my life's work. This is what I was always meant to do and be. I communicate me. I do speeches for a check. I MC events for a check. I write commercials for a check. I've written a book and written plays for a check. I model for a check. I have done artwork and sold it for a check. I sell seasonings at expos, at home and garden shows across the country in my spare time with the booth of products that I own. Come on now, I own these things. All that money is mine. I work for me. So I do not have a job. I have a life. And I have different silos and pots that I can dip my hand into to make money, just like so many other people who have different hustles. And you can't afford living in downtown Washington, D.C., the third most expensive, some people say the most expensive place in the country to live, if you don't have a job. I have all the jobs. So tell me what you want to do. So when I say I'm a creative, that has been the modern term used by creatives and other people of that ilk to define all these things, because it may take about 5 minutes, like I did say right there, all the things that I do. But Uncle Sam knows, and my LLC knows, and I know, and my bank account knows. So I also don't like to talk about all the things that I do, because if you say that you're an actor, then people think that, okay, what have I seen you in? Well, so many other ways to. I was in a commercial for vaccines over the Super Bowl that aired over like 125 million houses and stuff. I've done movies independent. I got literally after being eliminated from the show. Later that week, I filmed a speaking part for an HBO miniseries, We Own the City, shot in Baltimore from the same people who did The Wire. I have a speaking role in that, in a pretty interesting flashback. So, you know, I don't like talking about everything that I do because people will have questions. And in the early going, when I was struggling to find my footing, yeah, it did seem like I was broke, or, okay, you ain't got no job. But I don't have a job like you have a job. Everybody else on the show, some of them all reserve the right to be called entrepreneurs. I call myself a Shawntrepreneur. But the funny thing is, the show still labeled me a journalist. So how much interest did the show have labeling me something that I hadn't done literally in 19 years? I said that I was a mass media artist. I've gotten grants through that title. That is all encompassing of my work as a voiceover person, for commercials, as a pitch man who's out in front for commercials, as a writer, as a man who's written plays, as a man who produced an audio play that's on for free right now. Spent $10,000 of my own money during the middle of the pandemic. Hired 15 actors, a sound studio, a mixer, graphics, all that stuff. I spent money on that. There ain't no broke man doing that. Now I'm not wealthy, but I'm doing just fine, and I'm working, and I'm a mass media artist. I'm a creative, and they list journalists, and they purposefully, not to talk bad about the show because I had a great experience, but they purposefully wanted to set up certain people's jokes because they filmed this all in a matter of weeks, not months. It's delivered to you over months, television people, but it's done in such a expedient format. It's like 4 or 5 weeks of boom, 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 and they already have it in the can. Is my point. So because they know how things will shake out, they can edit backwards, and play up certain things. So the first episode that
before you go deeper.
Sorry. Yes,
before you go deeper, we'll get there. We'll get there. No, you're right. Listen, I think that's right. I know you was ready. Before we get there, I'm gonna play. I'll just put this here. Because it's a moment there, you know what I'm saying? You gave a good, you know, rendition and let people know where we stand. So I like that. Because you mentioned quite a few things, like you said. You've spoken about obviously how, you know, for you, you're living life right now. You're living life. This is not necessarily just a job. You're living life, and I definitely agree that because that's how I feel, right? You know, when you move away from the 9 to 5, you know, and you do, especially if you're creative, and you move away from your 9 to 5 and you focus on aspects of creating. Like you said, if you get paid for MCing, get paid for writing, get paid for modeling, get paid for voiceovers and stuff like that, you're absolutely right. It's now you're just living life. You're not necessarily thinking about a job because there is no necessary job. It's all encompassing. I wanted to go back. I want to go way back, right? Because you kind of give us a good little touch and a little dash of it as well. You spoke a little bit about you know, how you grew up a little bit. You spoke about how you saw your parents in a great kind of relationship, marriage, partnership. And so I wanted to kind of get a little bit of aspect in terms of your upbringing. What was it like? You know, because I can see that you're a very studious person now. You're about your business. You can hustle. You know what I'm saying? You don't rest on your laurels. And you're about making sure that, listen, if it doesn't go your way, you're going to make it go your way, right? So for you, I want to kind of give us a little bit of a background. What was growing up like, you know, and what was your experiences as a young man?
I'll start broad and then get more specific. On a broad experience, we were raised in a nuclear family household. There were enough kids. So from the youngest to the oldest is a 20-year difference. So there was enough kids that where all of them weren't always in the house, especially as the middle child. So my brother or sister would be away at college or something. But it was considered like I'm the oldest of the last three, you know. But as the middle child, you're left to your own agency. But my mom and dad, church folk, very simple people, didn't go to college, but they were business owners and very successful. My dad was a natural gentleman and a curious person. I learned how to read the newspaper from watching my father. Every day he read the newspaper. And then I would watch news and sports with him as well. And just being around the barbershops, I knew masculine energy, but also saw my dad as like the moderator of this talk show. And there'll be different casts of characters. You know, it's Black Barbershop. So I'm raised in that. And I love settings where I can sort of facilitate conversations. And I like picking people's brains. That's why I was a journalist as well. More specifically, Black Baptist, country Black Baptist. I mean, you're going to sweat. Those church fans are donated, not donated, but they have a funeral home listing on the back. It's hot. It's sultry. You there for like, man, we're going to be here through the late game of football. You know, I guess we'll be here till the Cowboys play. But I'm a Falcon fan. I'm a Cowboy fan. And more specifically about me, I was always smart. I was into books. And when you're smart, you don't have as many friends. Not early. So I was into toys and into Transformers, and I liked sports and things like that. I had my own interest in comic books. I skipped a grade. I skipped the second grade to the third. And that always set me a little off from everybody, even when you get older. You know, kids are driving cars in their sophomore year. I have to wait till my junior year to be able to drive, you know? I felt like I was always behind the eight ball. And so I'll relay this real quick, not to jump ahead of your questions. When they brought me on to the show, in the way they brought me on, I felt so much cliquish energy, right? Like I totally feel like an outsider. I think I said at the reunion special, which we already filmed, it was frats and sorors to the right of me, and jocks and pretty girls to the left. And then I'm just a geek coming in, and these all are upperclassmen, and I'm just coming in because it's a tougher bid for a man to be in the middle. I won't speak for Sydney too much, but I think she'll even agree. Like, you know, the guys would take a run at Sydney because, fresh meat. The women weren't taking runs at me. In fact, if anything, they were more protective of the connections they had, and they weren't trying to mess that up. So some people may have been more suspicious about me coming in the middle of the show as if I owned the show. That wasn't the way it worked. The way it worked was, hey, we think that you'd be great as what they call a ringer. If you come in the middle and try to find love that way, you think you could do it? Well, if you guys think it's best, whatever. But I did miss that interaction with everybody. As a little bit more about me, studied social science education at the University of Georgia. But I was always a writer. And I started writing for the city newspaper in Athens, Banner Herald, before I even graduated Georgia. And I just always just followed that. And something about me, which I know in my interviews, on and off camera, the thing about me, particularly with my career life, I had always let my interests, I just sort of rode a wave of, okay, so these people want to hire me. I can do that job. I'll do it. I never actually just put my finger on and said, this is what I want to do or want to be. And that was sort of to my detriment. And when my father passed away, and when I just said, you know what, screw this, I can always work a job that pays a bill, but I need to find something that makes me happy. And I just quit without a net. I was on that wire, and I had some ups and downs, but I felt confident now. I feel confident now about who I am and being worth something to somebody, that I could pay a bill, that I could be attentive, and all those things, that I'm like, okay, now I need to put this assertiveness and intentionality into finding a woman, you know, instead of just letting relationships happen.
Let me ask a question, because you mentioned something really interesting. Obviously, you spoke a little bit about the show and the kind of cliquish kind of energy. And then I wanted to kind of link that back to your experiences potentially maybe in high school and middle school. Kind of, did you experience that same type of energy when you were in like middle school, high school, that kind of find yourself in the middle kind of ground where there are different cliques and you may potentially not kind of falling into any of those particular arenas? Is that something that is that something you've experienced?
Oh, Kofi, 100%. So when I explained what the analogy, the metaphor that I gave about coming on the show, while that was describing my freshman year of college, I do remember telling people, this is so junior high. Why is everyone gabbing here and there and doing this? I thought this was a dating show. We're just supposed to be dating and trying to meet people. So when you first get on the show and your first conversation, you go to the jacuzzi with Sid to talk to Camille and Zadia in the jacuzzi, and they don't seem interested in having much of a conversation. And then, you know, not to name check, Camille makes her comments like, well, y'all need to talk to each other, and says, there's my boyfriend over there. How do you have a boyfriend on a dating show? But it was so many clicks. Maybe there'll be some stuff coming up, but it just felt very cliquish. And so going back to your question, in junior high and high school, yeah, that was all going on. And it took me a while to find my comfort zone. So I just did my nerd thing. I did some sports, but I didn't have my. The funny thing about sports, I was athletic, but I didn't find my coordination until it was probably too late to have a true interest in sports.
Mm.
So remember, I skipped a grade, so I'm a year retarded physically.
Mm.
That's not a word you're supposed to use, but that's the proper word here. I'm a year retarded physically from all the other boys in the varsity squads. And in JV squad, I got these big old feet. My feet are matching my age. I'm 13 and I got 13 feet. And I'm stepping on shoes and all that other stuff. I don't have the coordination. So I did quiz bowls. I did all sorts of little, extracurricular activities that showcase my smarts. And I will eventually do student council and become class president. So, pardon, you might hear sirens. I'm not far from a firehouse.
Okay.
But yeah, so I went the respected, cool geek route. And I didn't sort of break out of that till college. Because college, you find your own little cliques. There's something for everybody in college. That's the whole point. You find yourself and you sort of manifest that a little bit. And so I think I started to figure out who I was at that time.
How did you feel then, having to navigate those different cliques? Then I say cliques, but when you're, especially when you're young, I know I'm linking it because obviously you've mentioned it on the show, and it does happen. It's not just shows; it's human kind of behavior. We often tend to go into cliques and stuff. But when you're younger, it's a bit different because, like you said, you don't know who you're still trying to form who you are. And validation is a very big thing for a young individual. So, like, how I want to kind of dive into the feelings you were kind of having in those moments where you're navigating school, but realizing maybe you don't fit into these particular groups. How are you navigating? Because you also mentioned as well, not necessarily having as many friends. So how do you navigate emotionally this environment when you're not in those particular cliques and groups and having to try and find your feet?
Couple of things. I invested in what I liked. And what I mean by that, I'm not trendy, right? I've never been a trendy person. For me to break out of certain things, that means I'm taking a risk on something or I really believe in it. And so what I mean by all these things is that I started to read and develop my writing. So I was inside my own head a lot. It wasn't that I didn't have a whole bunch of friends. I mean, it's not that I didn't have friends, but I didn't have a whole bunch of friends. Yeah. But that's even better because, like, okay, I know who's strong around me, who's legit. I could give them shout outs now, like Ira Davis, Keith Arnett. And then you start meeting some boys in college that are kind of misfit, but we've been in this college game for a while. They got their own lives. Like, I call them my crew. It's sort of like my own actual fraternity. We're not an actual frat, but we're like a fraternal group of brothers. And you just sort of make way with the few folks that you have. I didn't need all the friends, and I was quite fine with that. And also, I really like to write. I like to create. I was world building. I wrote 2 plays independent of the Black Theatrical Ensemble at University of Georgia. Sold them both out just to do it. Got some people who acted, some who didn't act. Boy, some really didn't know how to act. But and we performed plays on an independent notion, and that's the type of stuff I was into. Like, I'm gonna spread my wings and see what I can do, whether I've done it before or not. And that's sort of been the blueprint to my life. I've had these terrific jobs. I've had things that would be careers for other people. And I've learned a lot of things. I've gathered a lot of tools and resources from the things that I've done in my past that's prepared me for where I am right now. And nothing feels more awesome than, like, oh, God gave me these toolkits. And you recognize it. That was a wrench you left back there. And it's like I almost got my tool set complete now. And yeah, so when I was young, I didn't know it, but I was picking up wrenches, right? And so that's how I live my life.
I want to ask you a question because I just noticed something. As you talk about creativity, or at least doing your writing and some of the stuff with acting and plays and stuff, your eyes really light up. So I kind of want to tap into that a little bit, because it sounds like, that's it sounds like that was a saving grace, in the sense of the fact that when you found that, and you found that's where your effort should be in, it's like life kind of made sense. So I wanted to kind of explore that a little bit in terms of what it means for you to be a creative, because from what I'm looking at, when I'm seeing a body language, I'm like, your eyes do boom when you're talking about it. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of wanted to tap into that a little bit. What does being a creative actually mean for you, and what is its importance and significance in your life?
Great question. So I remember talking to my older sister when I was still a newspaper reporter. And I think this was even before 9/11. But we were just in the kitchen when I was visiting home. And we were in the kitchen, and our kitchen has a little TV because we like to watch TV when we ate. So the news was on, and there was something going on in the Middle East, as it is wont to do. And she said, Shawn, would you go over there if you were a reporter to cover those stories? Blood is happening. There's a war zone, essentially. I said, in a heartbeat. And she said, why? I said, well, I realize that journalism is the one thing that I have to show what I can do to help other people.
Mm.
At that moment, I thought journalism was the only way for me to really use my talents, but also contribute something to society, because reporting truth is important. Now looking back on that, and now I've advanced the ball on the stories I'm telling. And while some of them may be fiction, there's a nonfiction aspect to me creating these characters, what they're about, what are they trying to signify, what's the arcs that I'm playing God, but I'm also trying to reflect some realities out there. And I'm doing nonfiction work. I've written plays about nonfiction acts that are sort of like hidden in Black history, but I'm illuminating them and adding in the sex that was actually in there, or the drama and the violence that was actually in there. So it's not just boring stuff. If I had my druthers, I would do documentaries, and I think I probably will. I'm not done with any facet of my life, but telling stories, or just being part of a creative process, is also very communal, and it's very endearing. So you put your heart and soul in something. It's very singular concept. Me in front of now a laptop, or writing on a pad and paper, and these are your thoughts. But I would sometimes do open mic spoken word, and I wasn't one of those on the spleen, if you know what I mean. This is on the scene. I wasn't one of those. I'm like, and you don't know. I was one of those. And I had a lot to say, but when you share it, and it's putting so much of yourself out there in the world. Is this what you think about women, or is this how you think certain things go? But even then, now in my age of, I'll be 45 next week, I'm doing projects where I'm sharing it, and people see your vision, and they're trying to push it out as well. Like when I did my audio play, 3 episodes, 50 episodes each. So it's a real play. We have bells and whistles, music, and sound stuff in there. And I got these actors there, and we're reading it through the Zoom call. And it's like, no, I think it's sort of like this. I think you read it like blah, blah, blah. Really? Because I thought it was like this. And now it's a community thing. It's something you get to see, oh, this is something that I wrote singularly that is now shareable. It can be communal. And on a beautiful level, as a creative, that's agape right there, right? That's what you want. Whatever you got inside of you that is good and decent or interesting, you want the world to share it, feel it, and come back some type of way that they're better for it. And when I'm talking about being a creative, that I think I didn't have the courage. I didn't have the balls to quit my job. It took my dad. It took my dad leaving us, and my best friend left us 6 months before he did, for me to say, excuse my language, fuck it. I can always work a job. And this is a career job, for some people. And I said, I think I got more talents and I think I can do more. And if I have to sleep on cardboard boxes, if I have to work some menial jobs, which I did, I was a barista. I was a deli worker at a cheesery in a high profile liquor store here at Calvert Woodley. I could go through all the jobs that I've done just to keep myself afloat. I remember before I quit, I was sort of giving them a heads up. So many people were doing their own thing. If you could telecommute was a big thing then, but Geico had some people who were telecommuting. And I said the name of the insurance company, but I said, hey, could I work part-time then? Or can I shave my hours? There's some other people who have more flexible hours. Can I do that? They said no. I wanted a piece of a job just to keep me going while I still pursue this creative whatever. And ultimately, I just heard in the back of my mind, like God saying, you can't do this halfway. If you're gonna do it,
gotta go all the way.
You can't be halfway married, right? You can't be wishy-washy about cutting yourself. Either you're gonna bleed or you ain't, right? And so it's like, all right, I got to do this. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I basically took a year off. I blew all my savings and just tried to figure out my life. And then life figures you out. And then things keep happening that keeps extending your stay of execution. And then before you know it, those brittle bones heal. Yeah. And now you're walking. And I feel good in my walk.
Yeah, bro, I definitely identify with that, in terms of what you're saying. Taking that leap of faith, it's not easy. And sometimes you need to push. Sometimes some of us need to be pushed over the edge to take that leap. So I'm definitely hearing you on that. Especially being a creative, sometimes we get comfortable in our position, and it's hard to take that risk because there's risks attached. I want to ask this question because you said obviously you had a lot to say, especially like in your spoken word, everything like that, and I want to know, where is that I have a lot to say coming from? Because if someone has a lot to say, I'm assuming they have a lot on their mind. So I'm wondering where the allotment of plentiful thoughts are coming from. Where's that stimulus coming from for you?
Well, I suspect because I've read a lot. But you're not a robot. You read these things, you start formulating opinions, right? And also, I go back to my dad. My dad read the newspaper every day. I learned how to read the newspaper from my dad. And politics was a big thing. We even had discussions about religion. He was a deacon. I remember before my dad passed, I would go, whenever I would come home from either college or where I was living, he would have me teach Sunday school. So I've taught Sunday school, which is a crazy thing to think about now, but like, damn, about Sunday school? My bad ass. But yeah, so I just have thoughts about things in the world because I absorb other things. When you want to meet people, when you don't close yourself off to different places, to different cultures, when you read different things, you formulate opinions. You have, in the way sometimes the world presents things, you get passionate about it. And that's probably why I was like, bah, 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 bah. I'm trying to be more zen about stuff. I need to be zen in some manners for my own peace, but the world still frustrates me. Things that people are putting values on is very frustrating.
Why?
Because it doesn't have to be that way. And they're making it hard for other people to not. I mean, people are getting depressed at a rapid clip. because they're trying to keep up with Joneses, or if they don't have this or that, they think that they should be canceled, or, we're not allowing each other to be human, for one, and two, we're not allowing for people to express themselves the way they want. Now that's going against what cancel culture and wokeness and all that other stuff, whatever cute little pithy term people want to put to things. But on liberal side, conservative side, whatever, folks are not being human about anything. I cannot, in this digital world, express a legit thought in 160 characters. Sorry, I'm not pithy like that. I don't know what human can talk about weighty things in 160 characters. And yet, we vilify or celebrate people who try in such a trite way of formatting. Like, I love the forums that we're on. I like social media. I use it. But just like with everything else, now people are accustomed to looking at folks through a screen instead of talking face to face.
Of course.
And so, like, these things are frustrating because I'm also a fan of old movies, like the old black and whites, even if they're racist, because it's still storytelling, and they tell stories with minimal effects, right? They have to tell a story the right way. They let imagination and certain details shine through when they tell stories. So that's a lesson for me. Like, even if you had your druthers with all the budgets and stuff, you still got to tell a story. And I think a lot of people are living their lives right now with big budget storytelling aspirations without a script. If that makes any sense. Nothing is that deep. I think people are trying to mask certain things because there's insecurities about who they may be or what they actually offer or bring to the table. So we have more distractions and more circus. Look at me. We have more circus instead of legitimate stuff there. And that is frustrating because I'm not the world's brightest man, but I'm not a dummy. And for guys like me who have something to offer, you want that arena to be a little bit more quiet. Everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody shut up so you can hear this stuff. So you can receive some real stuff.
So are you saying, so I want to try and see where this is coming from then. So have you felt like the stage has been quieted for you? Have you felt like the stage has been, let's say in the past, have you felt like the stage has been taking over by loud voices and not allowed your voice to be able to be heard? Is that what you're kind of saying? I'm trying to kind of match in what you're kind of expressing here. Is that what you've experienced? I want to say,
man, I wish you said that 5 minutes ago, so I didn't say it. I could say it, you and some people watching the time, but yes. Let me tell you something. Growing up in the I'm 76. At 76 is my birth year, but growing up in the 80s, light skin was in, right? So the dark skinned brother ain't getting a chance. And then I also had like major clefts. I didn't have the perfect teeth. That's the other thing that's sort of kind of crazy too, though. People are trying to look perfect. It's maddening. Everyone's not supposed to look the same. They're painting this and they're straightening that. And the beauty of humanity is our normal wear and tear. Is the God's creation that He's given us. We can amplify some things here and there. I'm not like a black Talibani, so I'm not going to get on that tip. But yes, you grow up, even though you're special and you're loved, and that sustained me. The love of a family, love of a mom and dad, and a good home sustain a person like me to be an individual. When you skip a grade and all your kids, all the friends that you had are left behind, you're out of place automatically. So I've been raised all my life to be a little different. And you soldier through it. And when I see people get certain chances, I get frustrated because, like, damn, they're blowing this opportunity. That's one. And two, What is it going to take for people to see me and find me? Yeah, that's it.
That's real. That's what I wanted to get to. That's exactly what I wanted to get to. That
You got
was
there.
that's what I wanted to get to. That's exactly what I wanted to get to, because that's what I was hearing, but I wanted to get there in its core crux, because being a creator, okay, takes adversity, I believe, right? It takes a level of adversity. The greater the adversity, the greater the creativity, because the creativity is about solving the solution outside of the box,
Yeah.
right? So once someone is that creative, there's usually a box around that person, and they're breaking outside of that box. I wanted to find out what that box was for you, and you've kind of expressed a bit in the sense of like voice not being heard, right? Seeing, you're being pushed up a year, your voice not being heard, and people are kind of like having opportunities that you probably wishing that you probably had, so you can do something with it because you have a voice and you have skills and talents that you could utilize that opportunity with. So I wanted to kind of find out um where that expression of adversity was coming from, where you get your creativity from. So I think that's what we've kind of touched on in that basis there, um because also you do a little bit of humor in there,
Yeah.
and humor always has a darkness to it. I always find people with a bit of humor that's darkness to it, and I wonder, okay, maybe we can touch on that really quickly. Where does that where for you then does the darkness lie then? Because humor often comes from that place. So where for you does the humor come from? Where's that darkness from?
Where's my darkness coming from?
Yeah, what have you experienced, to get to that place that you use humor?
My favorite Bible verse is the one that's before I can do all things in Christ that deliver me. So that one is like, which one is that? Philippians.
Yeah, I think it's Philippians 4:13.
4:13. So 4:12 is my favorite. And so 4:12 is basically Paul saying to the people he's preaching to, look, I've been without food, I've been without shelter, I've been without things. Because I've gone through those paces and I'm at this point, then he gets into I can do all things at Christ. People want to have the salvation, and this is with anything. This is salvation, little s, not big S. People want to have the salvation only after the sermon. There's a crucible of life you must go through, and you must understand what that crucible meant to you. And from there is my creativity. So what they used to do in the old days when you were like a singer in the 50s and 60s, they would have you cut an album, write some songs or whatever, or you write the songs. Likely they wrote the songs. And then they say, all right, take a couple of years off, live some life. Come back when you're ready. Come back when you have lived some life. Because that's why so many freshman albums and artists are often one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
They try to speed up the process. Life is about enduring the process.
Yeah.
And then processing that process and knowing what it meant. And as a creative, that is my job, to express those things and to see the process of life in other things beyond me. Now we're talking art. And now we're talking journalism. That's why I like journalism, because you're journaling people's perspectives that may not be yours. And you're trying to tell those stories. So that's where I got my creativity from. I broke out when I had a struggle, when I had struggles. And it was like, Lord, I was even in a bus accident. I survived a house fire. I survived car accidents. I was supposed to have been on the train that derailed when I first got here in DC, the Metro Rail that derailed. I was supposed to have been on that. Well, God's trying to tell me something. You go through these struggles. I lost my left hand. I always tell people I'm right-handed, but he made me lose just enough, just enough so I can get my life right. He said it could have been worse. So take advantage of everything around you. Smell the roses and push for what you want. And I was always raised, I was a nice guy. and I'm still a nice guy. I got some edges to me now. But I used to have a former principal who turned into an educational counselor or something. He was doing something for a private entity. He visited my mom's house and talked with my family. Well, talked to my mom particularly. Said, "You're good at doing things that other people want you to do. You're gonna have to be selfish more, and not selfish like this is my candy. I'm a very giving person, but like more selfish about what you want and what you want to see." What Obama used to say, you're the change that you want to seek, right? So you have to go and take initiative and do these things yourself, or at least try to get there. But as far as like where that darkness came from, the darkness came from all of the dirty thoughts and the bad thoughts I would have when I was absolutely broke, or when I'm going to the plasma center to sell my fluids just so I can get a couple of bucks in my pocket, or when I'm locked out of a friend's house and I'm homeless, sleeping in a car, stuff like that. When I didn't have rent, when I was evicted, I can talk about these things. Now, not only can I talk about those things, but those things make me stronger. And other folks want to act like everyone wants to floss. Well, not everyone, sound like an old man. But people always, if you look at Facebook and Instagram, you would swear there were 340 million people who don't work, who don't have a job. It's always vacations, and we doing it big here with whatever they're drinking and stuff. Ain't no teaspoon of reality there. But everyone's judging from what people are putting out there. People are only putting out their best trailer for you to see. I don't have a trailer. I'm kind of glamorous, but I'm also kind of rugged, kind of country, kind of smart. I am what you see on that given day.
So talk a little bit to me about then. Okay, so now we've got a bit of a fair picture. Talk to me a little bit about the dating experience then, because obviously we know you got on the show, but before we get to that space, what about relationships? I mean, how's that experience been? Let's say for the last few years, how have you found dating? What's the experience been like?
The way I put it, it's been tough. And I say it's been tough, not because I can't get a date. I feel pretty confident before the show of getting the interest of a woman. I would say it was tough because I wasn't in the right headspace.
Okay.
I mentioned it as a lost decade. So I had a lost decade from when my best friend passed away 6 months. And then my dad died 6 months after that. And that was 2010. And so from like 2010, we're really trying to suss it out, but 2010 to about 2018, 2019, I had a decade that I didn't think I was having until I was looking back and trying to evaluate some things. And what I mean by this lost decade was I let grief and life's foibles trip me up from the path I should have been on. And so when I dated, I thought I was handling everything cool, particularly with my family piece and things like, all right, I'm dealing with this grief. I'm not crying all the time, and I need to be there for mom. I need to be there for my brother. And all right, if they got some money, I'm doing things that's, you part of the human tapestry of bonding and binding up wounds, right? But when you bind up some other people's wounds, you forget that you may have some on your own. And while I was smiling and I was jokey, I look back and I threw away, Kofi. I threw away some great women. And I didn't even know I was doing it. And it wasn't like the stereotypical, leave me alone. You're not my dad. You don't know how I feel. It wasn't even like that. It was kind of like, because I'm handling everything, I was repressing something inside of me. And so I wasn't sharing or trusting the women that I was with. And also, instead of, I think I used this term on another interview, but it's true. Instead of transcendent relationships, they were all transactional. Friends with benefits, that sort of thing. And I remember going on a date about a year or two, well, a little bit before the pandemic, just a regular date, and how refreshing it felt to actually have a date. I don't know if people date like they used to anymore. It's still a concept. On a conceptual level, it exists. But now it's like, how soon can I get you over to my house? Let's do a date, but not a date. So meet me and some people at the bar. Or like, no, I literally had a date. And it was just, I'm like, I miss this feeling. I used to feel like that. And I lost that because I had let something sour my experience. And then I was also in that same lost decade, I wasn't comfortable with my job piece. And so I talk about this as a man. If you're not comfortable with what you do or who you are, you ain't no good to anybody.
Nope.
And I look back and I wasn't good to anybody, no matter how good of a person I thought I was.
Trust me, bro.
You know. So when it came to dating, I can meet women. In fact, it'd be a nice little game. Let me see if I could pick that up or see if she's interested. Sometimes I would meet women, get their number, and I just wouldn't even call them. It's like the rush of, okay, a sugar high.
I can get it. Yeah.
Chewing gum. Till the flavor runs out. And that was me.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you look up, and then you're 44 going on 45, and you're making cornbread dressing, family recipe, because you're gonna have some people over for your Thanksgiving because you couldn't go home and some of them couldn't go home. And it's like, I should have a woman here drinking wine, music playing while we cooking and doing other stuff. And other people have their families that they're doing things with. I should at least have a woman, whether I have a woman with kids or not, that's a whole nother thing. But I don't have that. And I didn't have that. And, those were episodes that's like, I do want this. And I go back to what I said earlier. People may want some things, but they are afraid to go ask for them or afraid to go get them. We want things to just happen to us. And no, you got to assert yourself. Go for it.
I love that you shared that as well. And just kind of hearing your experience. Like I said, you said that lost decade.
Yeah.
And you mentioned quite a few things like your job piece as well. But you mentioned something in between. I've kind of lost the wording, what you actually just used. So you were saying obviously about, and it was just before you mentioned about the transactional aspect of relationships. You were talking about how you weren't really, you weren't no good for these relationships, like in the way you were kind of behaving. And I wanted to kind of like explore that a little bit more in terms of what you mean by that. I know the job piece was important. I know the transactional. What else was kind of preventing these relationships from really formalizing? Why were you losing out? Why were you losing great women? You know what I mean? What else was contributing towards you not being able to kind of lock down these great relationships with these women that you were saying?
At one point, it was just like, maybe I'm picky. That was the first piece. Maybe I'm just picky. This isn't good enough for me. Sometimes you'll get that feel, but then it became more like, oh, this ain't bad. I think I'm overthinking something. I get my brain working, and then it became more or less, and this is a weird thing, you start self-sabotaging. Maybe it's a Sagittarius in me, like, oh, I feel trapped. I don't want this. I want to do that. I want to be nimble. I want to be able to do blah, 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 blah. And I still have those impulses sometimes, but it's a combination of all those things. And I would tell my story, but I don't know if I would emote my story.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was doing with these women. So I would give them the note card version of Shawn. Maybe the Cliff Notes, what they had back in the old days, Cliff Notes. And there's an ambulance there.
You're good.
But I wouldn't tell them the whole story, page to page. I would keep some chapters for myself.
I hear you.
Mhm.
Do you know what? It's interesting. I'm really identifying with you in this moment. Um, you know, in what you're saying. Um, and I was just kind of listening to you, and I was kind of thinking, because I know you mentioned about obviously your father passing, and I'm wondering if it started, if that keep to self has started before that though, because by judging by what you said on the story, you having to move up a year, etc., that starts a whole not being understood. That already starts off a chain reaction of events where you have to tell yourself, I got to hold it down myself. There's a level of strong independence because you've had to hold it down yourself majority of your life. When I say hold it down, in the sense of you always shifting and moving because
Mhm.
you're trying to formalize where you're meant to be, and that in itself promotes independence. And then you mentioned something which is really interesting. You said about the freedom, and actually, I don't think it's Sagittarius because I'm a Cancer, so I think this is to do with more. There is. Have you ever done a Miles Brigger's test? Miles Brigger says like 16 personalities, and one of the personalities I can't remember what it's called, but there are people who when they don't like being compressed. They don't like being told where to go, when to go, how to go. We want to be able to exist and have that freedom. And the moment we feel the walls are closing in and people lock us in, we struggle. But at the same time, you still want to be able to have that settled peace, but it's very difficult to do it. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? So when I was hearing you, I was like, I was really identifying with you because I could understand where you were coming from, and what you're kind of saying in this piece. And then I wanted to kind of tap into it, and maybe you can explain this a little bit more in terms of speaking about not sharing yourself, right? So keeping a hold of yourself, almost compartmentalizing part of yourself so you don't give all of you.
Mhm.
For you, was that a protection piece? And if so, if not, I just want to kind of see what you would what was it for you? Because I often find that sometimes that's a protection piece that we kind of limit parts of ourselves.
Well, did you study psych?
Listen, I failed.
You failed.
I got a U, bro. I'm intuitive, man. I got a U, bro.
No, intuition is good. I use intuition too, and in fact, social science is essentially the science of studying people,
Mm,
and I do that in all aspects of what I do, nonverbal things, all that stuff. So it's very fascinating that you say what you say, or what you're putting together, because I do think uh, I'll advance it even more because that's the point of an interview, right?
mm,
Um, I it was protective because I was afraid if people, particularly women, saw me for what I was, uh, then I would fall victim to not being good enough.
mm. Come on now, let's talk some
And we
stuff.
have a whole culture that's quietly and not quietly telling black men they're not good enough.
I hear you.
And you're talking to a man who has confidence.
Mm,
But even if I share this or how I do things, or if I show some degree of fallibility, she's going to drop my ass.
mm.
So let me be the assertive one and drop before I get picked up.
I hear you. Come on.
And these are things I've been writing about all my life. And I remember writing an article about the difference, the problems with black men and black women. I wrote it for a now defunct magazine called Iona Magazine. I wrote it in 2005. I know the exact date, and it was a long, engrossing, way more engrossing and way too good for this magazine. But that's the type of research that I did. And I talked to psychologists and I talked to men and women from different parts of the country. I was doing that magazine style writing that I grew up on and wanted to do. But anyway, the story looked at it from, all right, black women here, talk about the black women stuff and what they want and all this jazz. I wanted to make sure I had the black male piece in there because everything, not everything, but black women are being listened to. Black men are not being requested to speak
Mm,
unless it's in a very trivial, trite type of way. That's why I wrote my book. I wanted to give people four views of four different men expressing their lives so you can hear and read how men are instead of these two-dimensional tropes. And so with this and the going back to the piece I wrote, there's PTSD amongst Black men, particularly in America.
Mm.
Especially for Black men living in the inner cities and all that other stuff. You know, the police are giving you crap one minute, women saying you ain't enough the next minute. Hip hop is saying that everything is a war zone. Nothing's happy anymore. There's no joy in anything. And as a Black man, you just got to get out and look mad and be mad and keep perpetuating this crap. And I still, even though I was removed from that stuff, I knew that I felt like a woman was judging every corner of my resume, every drop of blood that's inside of me. If I expose it to her, she's going to have something critical to say. So I never thought I was good enough. So that's also part of that lost decade thing. So when the career piece happens, when the grief piece happens, when there's the feeling that you're not good enough as a Black man in a professional Black city like DC. And I was telling my boys this too. I was hitting my head up against a wall of trying to fit into DC for a second. I'm an outgoing person. I can make friends, but I would get into arguments with stupid people, which made me stupid. And that, you know, when I pull myself back and look at it from a helicopter view, I'm like, one, that's not who I am. And two, even though I'm all righteous and stuff, I need to find a way to be comfortable with who I am so I can give myself to someone, of value to someone. And that took a while.
Yeah, man, bro, you're touching on some major things. I know we're meant to talk about Ready to Love, but this is critical point we're having this conversation, you know, because what you're expressing, very similar to yourself. You know, I come from a major city, London. Where I think the difficulties that we're both kind of agreeing here is that there are tropes, there are stereotypes of what a Black man should be. So if you're not a sportsman, you know, if you're not if you're not a sportsman, or you're not the popular kid, or if you're not the gangster, you know, or, you know, on those particular forms of stereotypes. Because Black people, when it comes to Black people, we're not a monolith, but we are a monolith in the sense of the fact that when we're younger, we have set boxes people have to be in before you're accepted, right? And the rest of us just kind of float in between, right? And like yourself, I grew up in London, which is the major city in UK, and I didn't fit in. I always say that London has a spirit of aggression. I'm not aggressive. So when you are not this, when you don't move the same way, you're always trying to find your kind of footing in that environment. And it does make you start to think, am I good enough? Because I had to deal with a lot of that insecurity when I was first started dating. You know, I remember when I told one girl when I first started dating, I said, but all your boyfriends are gangsters. Why do you want me? I genuinely said it. I sat in the curb and I said to her, all your ex-boyfriends are gangsters. Why would you want to date me? Like, you know what I mean? Even though I liked her, I really did. But then then you start to realize that the impact of having these voices that are simultaneously silent but loud, right?
Yes.
They're not seen, but they are felt. You know what I mean? And whether you like it or not, you suffer at the hands of the tropes and the stereotypes, right? And so some of the things that, you know, you suffer with when you're younger. You know, I was watching a video the other day, right? And I was like, when we're younger, right? And this is probably, I know ladies are they're gonna be like, it's not me, it wasn't me. I know. But when we're younger in school, right? And let's keep it a buck. When you're young, when you're a certain age, girls mean a lot, right? Girls mean a lot. It's social, environmental status. It mean everything, right?
Yeah.
When you look at some of what the popular women were looking at, right? And by the way, popular, it means a lot when you're younger as well. All right. They weren't, like I said, they were also following the tropes. So if you were a gangster, even if you were the worst student in school and you were a gangster, they're gonna love you. If you're the worst student, but you sportsman and you look like you're going somewhere, they're gonna love you. Right. If you've got a crazy talent, I mean, something that's cool, not something that's like nerdy. Like if you're sick at chess, we don't want to hear about you. But if you can dance, you can play football or American football for you guys.
If you can be the Black person on display.
Exactly. Then you're in, right? and the rest of us got to figure it out, right?
Yep.
Now, does that mean, of course, when you get older, you realize that's not how life should be, and you realize people broaden their horizons. What I'm kind of saying is that in that moment, what you're having to do is to figure out, where do I fit in this environment then, right? Because part of being a man is that we do look, I don't want to say worshipped, that's a wrong word, but we look to be praised. And so you look for where you're going to be praised as a man, right? And in those environments when you're younger, it is very difficult because the boxes are so rigid. And then when you're growing up, what happens is you're kind of moving around, shifting. And what you don't realize is, as you get into relationships, is all of that happened there is now coming to bite you in the ass as you're dating, because you never thought about it. You never thought about how it would affect you until you realize now you're out of there and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of these things still hunting me. You know what I mean? So that's what I was saying. I hear what you were saying on that. I don't know if you want to touch back into that a little
No,
bit.
that's what I was talking about with the lost decade. It's
Mm.
all fit. It all fits in the same thing. It's like, whoa, I didn't know that stuff affected me until I'm on the other side of it.
Mm.
And you got to understand what that means. So, yeah.
Love that. Okay, so the lost decade happened, everything like that. The lost decade. Okay, so what? So once you get once the lost decade is coming towards the end, what is your desire then? So that by the end of the lost decade, what is your desire? And then once we can answer that, we can go into why you're on the show.
I felt like I was trying to catch up, and I was always trying to catch up with some invisible race, right? And then I look back and like, man, at 10 years, I lost a lot of time. But I think for me, it was a matter of, you get grace and mercy if you ask for it. Yeah. And I'm like, I have all the time I need. I'm going to be okay. So what I need to do now is keep putting a better foot forward. It's sort of that thing that it was always a corporate thing when they would send out a memo. Moving forward, it's like, after you screwed this up, okay, we won't be doing that again. You can't do that no more. Moving forward, ... This is how you apply these lessons to your job. Okay. Moving forward, ... Shawn is going to assert himself with forward intentions, with progressive intentions. And so you just walk in your own path. Your life is your life. Nobody's going to pay your bills. Nobody's going to care about your grief. The world is going to keep on spinning because life is about that. It ain't going to be perfect, but it can be better if you suck it up and be a man about your business. That's me, being a man about my business. I may or may not have the money you need, sister, but this is what I got going on. You can't see that. All right, step. I could cook, I could clean, I look good, I could talk. You can show me around your ritzy friends if you want to, or we could just chill and do our own thing. But first and foremost is that now I have the confidence to say, this is it, baby. You can roll with this or you don't. And this is what I tell my male friends too. Because, and I'll tell you something, you might find this kind of funny. I actually had a couple of clients, sort of sartorial life clients, similar to like Will Smith Hitch. Right? And I tell them this, like, first of all, as a man, you must be like this. Because women can be like that axis, up and down. But you must be stern, and not stern, but you must be
solid,
straight.
Yeah.
That's why I go back to people trying to, all right, who's going to buy me a house or a mansion? We're not promised to buy people mansions. Some people think of providers, which I'm sure we're going to get into later. Providers are someone who's going to just give you a neighborhood. But you're supposed to be able as a man to give a quality of life.
Yes.
To keep the lights on, to support, to lead, to be the person to see what's bumping in the night. Yeah, baby, I know you got the gun range thing. You like your guns. I'm checking it out. That's manhood. That's responsibility. And so I feel so capable of doing those basic things. Those are just meat and potato things. And now, because that's my understanding of manhood, it's simple to me now. And anybody else who don't get it, she ain't the woman for you. But every woman will respect a man when she sees him.
Mm.
And I'm a man that she can see now because I
Mm.
feel like a man,
Mm.
you know?
No, hearing that 100%. I like that. I like that. So then, what then takes you on to Ready to Love the show? What is the motivation?
So I have a casting friend,
Mm.
not for the show, but I think she was like, "Hey, you're a good looking man. You single? You got no? Well, I date. I do stuff. What's going on? Well, there's this show, this reality show, Ready to Love. No. I'm not doing reality. I'm not doing a reality show. Like that stuff ain't real. Oh, it's real. It's real, and it's not as ridiculous as the other shows. That's what I was told. It's on Oprah's network. It's Will Packer's production, and then you talk to the producers and the people behind the scenes, and they're like, "Oh no, we're not that type of show. It's a quality thing. We're trying to put our best foot forward into DC, and we want the world to see what you have to offer, and hopefully you find love and blah blah blah." All right, I'll buy into it. Kofi, I don't need to be on TV. I literally have a dozen commercials running locally here in DC. Literally. And I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna be on TV and we're gonna do what? We're gonna date and do blah blah blah. And okay, fine. In a pandemic? Yes, we're gonna do it in a pandemic. This is how we're gonna do it. You get tested and all this stuff and stuff. Okay, all right. If you'll have me, I'll take you. I was interviewing them more than they were interviewing me. Because I'm like, I don't want no mess. I don't want no bones dug up out of no sarcophagus from 1993. I don't want none of that mess. I want no ex-girlfriends popping up unless I want her there. So I don't want no guff because it took me a while to get to where I am. But in the position I'm in and the work that I do, all right, it's good to get your face out there, bro. And you are single. So what's the problem? All right, I'll do it. And that was it.
Okay.
It wasn't as much like, I need a wife, I need some children now, which is the only way they could cut me up because they're like, we don't have a storyline for them. You do have a storyline. Actually, here's the thing. All right, I'll tell you something about creative real quick. When I wrote my book, it's not about the story. It's about the characters. Because when you write good characters, you can take them any damn where and you will follow them.
Mm.
And so much of the show felt like we need to produce something. We need to pull out the highlights here of such and such. And for me, that was kind of tough because I'm like, well, I'm nimble. I got that Sagittarius, good at many things, master of none type of feel to me, but I can roll with what you want, but I'm not gonna play a role for you. And so when they bring you in the middle of the show like they did me, maybe they wanted me to play a role, but no, I was just gonna be me. And if they kept it on camera, I think people would have liked me a lot more.
Okay.
But it always is what it is.
So for you, going on the show was it's an opportunity in a sense, right?
It was an opportunity, but I did want a girlfriend. I wanted a future wife. And I was told that, all right, they'll be from this age range to this age range. And you could find a couple. There's some people who found love from the show. I'm like, that'd be great. Because as fun as I think I am, I can be a little difficult. And it'd be nice to, why don't they use their resources? A national company and production house is scouring all the singles in the city, supposedly. Why don't they use their resources and I could pick from that pool if I got a pool to pick from?
So had you watched the show previously? Have you watched any of the previous seasons?
Not really. No.
Yeah, that's probably why you're saying what you're saying.
Yeah. No. Nope.
So when you found out you were going on the show, you didn't think, let me watch a couple of their seasons and see what I got. But then you know what I mean, how many episodes you watch? But yeah.
Well, so the other thing about that is like, how nutritious would that information be? Because they were all saying that DC would be different.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a different stock of people, they say, right? So Atlanta is Atlanta, Houston is Houston, DC is an industry town.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's the federal capital. So, you know, Atlanta, you have finance industry, you have sports, you have lawyers and stuff. Houston, you have the same thing. You have oil and all those things, all those different tapestries stitched that together. DC is full of eggheads who all migrated here to work for that capital down the street from me. And people who have interests that surround that money and that ecosystem. So it's a whole different lather of folk. So I don't know. I was told that I may not want to look at Houston too much because what good is that going to do with DC? And knowing the type of women and men that I've run in circles with in DC, I could see that being the case. And so I sort of went with that. Now, it is a naive thing, but still, that it was more like, well, DC is different from those places.
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from on that one. Okay, so then you get onto the show. You're thinking that potentially this could, you know, they could help you get a girlfriend here. And then you know, you obviously get entered halfway through. When you applied, did you apply at the beginning of the show beginning, or did you apply at half? Okay, so did they let you know, I'm guessing, earlier on that you're going to be in the middle, or was it just a late decision?
I did not know that they were thinking about having me on in the middle of the show until like about 2 weeks before they started filming.
Okay.
So it was literally like, all right, block off these set of dates. We're going to start doing the show for like a month and a half. That's when you'd be used as long as you stay on the show. They didn't have the idea of bringing someone in the middle, I don't think. Or maybe it was some affirmation. They just kept it in the back of their heads. Right. They didn't tell anybody else because maybe people would have been auditioning to come in the middle of whatever. But no, they said to me, they called me up, say, hey, congratulations, you made the show. Oh, cool, great. When do we start? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, we were actually thinking, if you were okay with it, that maybe you could be one of two ringers, opposite sex ringers that we would have. Wait, ringers? Well, that's what they called them. They didn't have another term for it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't acting. I wasn't paid for anything. I was on as a regular contestant and a regular cast member, because it's not a game show. A regular cast member.
It feels like one.
Well, it feels like one now. But I'll tell people, Drew Carey ain't in at the end of that with the Showcase Showdown. They ain't no check at the end of that. Not like that. But yeah, I'll say, okay. Now what they said was, that means you might come in like maybe 2 or 3 weeks in the middle of the process, but we'll get you up to speed. We'll talk with you. If you're okay with that, because we think you have the personality and the goods that will probably open up some of these guys a little bit. All right. Okay, if you think so, fine. It's your show. I'm just going to be on the show. And that's how that came to be. It wasn't my decision. And quite frankly, I personally wish I'd met everyone in the beginning and had that experience like everyone else. So I could have those bonds and connections, or try to have bonds and connections. Instead, I was out there with my shirt in the wind, literally.
I'm hearing you on that. So obviously, then your experience can be so vastly different to anybody who's been on the show from the very beginning. Obviously, when you come in then, and you know, we see you in that opening scene. Is that pretty much the first time you guys had interacted, or had you guys interacted a little bit behind the scenes? That kind of opening scene that we see you in.
No, that's a legit surprise for the existing cast.
My God,
we were down in the bowels of the mansion. There's like a den in the mansion, and it was Sydney and myself. Now they try to keep Sid compartmentalized and kept away from me as well,
because I get it. So they'll mash up the thing if she gets up there and you two are talking. I get you.
Yeah. So we didn't have much conversation until we were like at the bowel steps before we walk out to get ready to be revealed. That's when I find out Sid is like a Sagittarius woman. Her birthday is the day before mine. Like, what the hell? You're a cool person. Hey, you're a cool person too. Oh, we got to get up out here? Okay, cool. And so we get up out there, and that's the very first time anyone else knows that we exist. They even had to Uber me in secret while people were outside because it was a pool party, and in order to make sure that nobody saw who I was or nobody saw my face or anything like that, to whisk me into the bowels of the thing. And we waited a long time. And so I'll give you something to peek behind the curtain too. I don't think we got out there. I could probably tell you the timestamp. We didn't get out there till about 3 or 4 o'clock that day. And I think we've wrapped shooting around 9. And with stops and starts, it was no more than 6 hours I got. Actually, it was really after change and set changes and things like that. I don't think I got more than 4 hours to meet all 10 women and make a connection. There was no 2 days, or there was no absorption of Shawn and Sydney. We were just put out there. So,
someone just put it. I'm just laughing because they put it. They made me like, "Hello, Shawn." This
Coco Bunny. I just turned on. I had the comments turned off.
Hello, Shawn. Okay. So you guys were obviously kept away for a little while as well, and it took a lot of time to get in there. So then when you first get in there, we see some of the conversation that happened. But I mean, for you, who first caught your eye when you first got in there? Who first caught your eye? Who for you immediately was like, wow, okay.
It's tough to say because I was too busy trying not to break my ass when I walked out there.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. That was a long walk. And they gave me these sandals, which I had been scuffing myself up. I hate walking in sandals for a while. But I think Sabrina was in the pool. She had short hair, and I like short hair. So I saw her. I think I saw Shiloh because I had known Shiloh through Facebook. You just randomly see some people and you become friends. I had known Shiloh through Facebook. In fact, I'm like, hey, I think when I talked to her, I said, I think we're Facebook friends. She's like, are we? I'm like, yeah, I don't have my phone on me because my phone was somewhere else, and I didn't want to lose my phone in a pool or something and whatever. But I'm like, I don't have my phone on me, but I'm pretty sure we're Facebook friends. And I actually DM'd her that night and said, hey, see, we're Facebook friends. I didn't get no rhythm from that, but I was just trying to warm up. But it was Sabrina. I remember Shiloh, and I thought Zadia and Camille were pretty. And in fact, those were the first 2 women. That was my first conversation. Going to the jacuzzi, I went to that jacuzzi where Zadia, and Camille were waiting in. And Sid came over with me because, we're still kind of nervous, both of us. And we had a little bit of time to talk with each other. So we were able to start a conversation. And, when you start a conversation with a group, you're trying to bleed in these other folks who you think want to have a conversation with you. That didn't happen. It was not that type of party. It was like, well, my boyfriend is going to be here in a second. What? You got a boyfriend? What the hell? On a dating show? What you doing with a boyfriend? And that was that. Maybe you two should talk to each other. Zadia gets up, and then her and Camille and lockstep, they get
So was that actually how it actually went? Like how we saw?
That's one of the few things they did not cut down much. That's how it happened. The conversation about what do I do? And I think Camille made a screw face and said, well, I'm a creative. Here's the ironic thing about that, Kofi. When you are a creative, other people who would know what a creative is, if they're creatives or what have you, or if they're in the arts realm. Well, Camille from LA got a degree at USC. Fine arts. She's an art teacher. So it shouldn't be that foreign when someone says a creative. And if you have a follow-up question, just ask it. Oh, really? What do you create? What do you do? Because everyone else did at the party when I was able to talk to people. That's all it took. So that was used as nifty little omissions to set up her joke about me being Tommy with no job. So that's what I mean when they say I appreciate the show, but I hate that was the story that they decided to tell about me when we just had an hour long conversation that has so much more about me that could have been nutritious for the audience. Because, like I said, I don't have a job. I have my life's work. And if you can't get that, then I could get you there, but I ain't gonna spend all day trying to get you there because that ain't important. But yeah, so that was fascinating. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be tough. It's already hot as hell out there because they film it during the summer. Who films during the summer of DC? It was 732 degrees out there. I saw a man in a red suit looking like the devil at least twice in a mirage in my head. It was hot. So that's the way that went, though. They got out of the pool. And then like, all right, well, let me see who else is around here. And other people were like in these little cabanas that were really tight, just two people. So what folks expect me to do? Just get in between some folks? Like, excuse me, bro, I'm going to talk to your woman. No, that wasn't going to happen. First of all, I didn't want nobody swinging on me. Two, I wasn't going to be the schemy R&B dude rubbing my hands and lips like, yeah, girl, I'm going to get that. And three, I'm going to try to find someone I'm interested in because I'm literally taking this process seriously. So the few times you get me on TV, I'm asking questions. I got some questions, you know, and I'm not just trying to use sexual innuendo or, well, what is your love language? Hell if I know. I don't even know what love language is. I just know as a man what I like. You know, we make things so trite, but it's just I was trying to meet people. And the people who are open to meeting me, looking back on it, well, some of them may have been towards the bottom of some lists. So I was an infusion of possibility. But that also means that keeps them in the game as well, too. But also, secondly, I genuinely had those connections. My conversations were with, I talked to all of them. Everyone said, hey, at least. But my conversations were with Sabrina. In fact, we were pulled away. There was a whole conversation that was filmed at the pool party. I had a conversation with Sabrina and Tasia at the pool party that were not even shown. And they were fantastic conversations. But they probably weren't juicy. I talked to Sabrina about being a caretaker. She lost her mother this week. God bless her. If you all follow Sabrina Soul's page, please donate to the Cash App because that family is in mourning. I had a great conversation with Tasia. Tasia and I, we were rapping about some political shit. We were getting down. We were having quite a conversation. She has my sister's birthday. I'm like, oh, okay. And she has a little country twang, although she's hard Chicago. So I felt this chick. She was just sitting by herself. I'm like, I'll sit down and talk to you. We had a great conversation. And Aisha, of course, you know, Aisha asked her questions because she's a curious woman. Aisha was the only woman that told me I look good. She said, how old are you? I said, 44. You look good.
High of praise.
I appreciate that. You know, I need more praise. You look great yourself, little girl.
So obviously that first conversation doesn't go too well. So the girls kind of put a block up, both Camille and Zadia kind of put a block up. So that was kind of a no-go. You had some decent conversation with Sydney across the board as well. And Sydney flirts with everybody, to be honest. And then obviously, you know, then we see you kind of now having conversations with Aisha. We see a little bit of Tasia, a little bit of Sabrina. So let's deal with each one individually. Yourself and Aisha seem to have a good connect. Frank was a little bit on edge at the time anyway. And you guys connect and have some really great conversation, but obviously you find out she's not looking to have kids.
Yes.
So I want to kind of explore that. What obviously watching it back now, when you realize actually she explained it to Phil that she's not the reason why she's not having kids. Did you get that same explanation and they edited it out, or did you never get that explanation?
No. And you know, I also want to talk to the genuine nature of Phil and Aisha. Those are not people who will keep ginning up emotional scenes just so they can have it with different people. So that was an organic thing for Aisha to share with Phil. And on a personal note, I appreciate her illuminating that. I learned about that later after my elimination. But so yeah, I learned that Aisha was like, I got these kids. One's about to go to college, um, and she was like, I may be done with the kid thing. It wasn't even like a maybe done. She was done with the kid thing. So my strategy though was like to take what was given. I didn't expect the whole cast to just hoard towards me, but I did want to genuinely at least have conversations with people that I liked or that I was having connections with. That's just organic. So when you get beyond that phase, like, okay, is the kid piece still there? Is the kid piece important? Now let's ask those questions when you get into the process. And I I really hated that that was her answer because I liked her.
Mm,
I still like Aisha. I like Aisha, and you want to go with what you like, but also the other thing here, Kofi, and this was very important during that lost decade that I was talking to you about. I had relationships with women because I like to date older women. I liked older women, not Wheezy Jefferson old, just older than me.
mm.
But
I hear you.
I like me some older women, and usually those women have already had their life events. They've either been married and now divorced, or they have grown kids or what have you, and so uh, they just want you for the playtime, or they just want you to like hang out or whatever. But I would have relationships with women, and we would kick that can down the road, and we keep kicking it down the road. And then we keep kicking it down the road. And then it finally comes to the head. And when it comes to a head, it's like, okay, as the old folks would say in the South, we can't go G nor ha. It means we can't move forwards or backwards. We can't go nowhere.
Mm,
So instead of wasting all that time, and this is a format to where you don't waste that time, uh, you you try to find out who's willing to give you what you want. Or because of the shutdown, I was also in a little squirrely of a place. It's like, well, maybe I could be with someone and not have kids. I am going to be
mm,
45 after all. What type of energy would I be as a father? I think about those things. If I were to meet Regina Hall right now, I think she's like 5 or 6 years older than me. If I were to meet Regina Hall right now, all right, we're going to roll. We're going to roll together because that's the type of woman I like. That's what I want. We'll deal with the can't have kid piece another way. But if there's someone that blows my socks off, let's roll with it. Because
mm,
I need to find my wife first. I need to find my helpmate. I need to find my person, my rib. The children piece can be gotten a number of different ways. We can be creative about being parents if we want to do that. But we got to be on the same page about what we want. And so when it came to Aisha, I'm like, dang. So that prevented more dates from Aisha. So I was really starting to have a small list because of the whole swath of women who just weren't even talking to me.
I get that. What about Aisha was what were the qualities that you loved about Aisha that kind of drew you in?
Open,
Mm,
honest, real, goofy, really sweet, really genuinely sweet. We talk about New York or Bronx or whatever, you get that going. But that it's she. I think I said this in one of our dates, and it was cut. But she literally wears her hearts on her sleeves, and she wears her pain like badges. She's got these emotional badges. They're not wounds; they're badges. It's like, yeah, I went through that. So what? This is me now. I'm smiling and I'm moving forward. And that's impressive. Plus, she's cute. She has the most fascinating face, right?
yeah.
Like it's not just and no dissing, but it's not just conventional pretty girl. She has these cheeks that do certain things, these eyes that do certain things, and you're just drawn to looking at her. And the
Mm,
cosmetology piece, because I come from a hair family,
mm.
so there were a lot of things that we connected off of right there. So, yeah, that's what I liked about Aisha.
You know what? I love that. I think you're probably one of the few people on this channel when you ask somebody what they like about someone, they actually give a full description of what they actually like about someone. So I can tell there was a genuine interest. I'm being deadly serious. When you ask people this question about what they like about someone, they're like, "Yeah, he's nice.
He's
They're
cool,
cool. Yeah, this that." And it's very rare. So when you would fully diving into what you actually are liking about it. So I love that as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so the Aisha piece, it didn't work out because obviously you two didn't have the kids piece was a bit of a separator. But
Mhm.
you obviously, like you said, you were thinking about maybe maybe you might not want to have the kid situation then. So it was that the deal breaker on her behalf or your behalf, in the sense of the fact that, because I know you said you were kind of in the middle.
I would say it was a mutual deal breaker for both of us. And I'll put it like this: Aisha is so sweet. Her things like, I don't want to deny a man that feeling of being a father. She says, I know how important it is for me as a mother. Plus, I don't want you to resent me down the road or something like that, although I wouldn't use the word resent. And also, I'm just like, you shouldn't have to fit round pegs in square holes, right? Like, this is a show where we date people, so I don't have to peg it all in just her. So let's move on. And that's just a mature way of looking at it, because our first conversation was mature. And that's the other piece about Aisha. She was young, but one of my big takeaways with talking to women like Aisha and Tasia is that young girls can do more than make reservations. They can actually give me something that'll fulfill this
The
and
mind.
fulfill my other desires. There are mature young women out there who will appreciate a man like me, who they say they may want to be taught a thing or two, but they can also teach me something too. And I used to be so, I mean, like I said, I always dated older women. And now if I'm going to get what I want, I have to look the other way. Um, and therein is going to lie the challenge if I get all the things that I want. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, me and Aisha, we had a very mature relationship. We always have a big respect for each other now, and I wish her nothing but the best.
Love that. Okay. Okay, that's a mutual understanding there. Okay, then it comes to your connection with Tasia.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, we find out obviously when you get kicked off the show that Tasia said obviously you didn't message her. That there was no connection there.
Well,
What?
we did message a couple of times, so we did
Mm,
have conversations. In fact, we had a conversation before, like a day or two before that. I think she was talking like, in general, there were no messages, no reach outs, and all that stuff. The women would
mm,
say that about me. Um, and that was getting true because I was finding that my options were really getting winnowed down. I didn't have a full list. Everyone else had a full list of folk. I come in the middle, and if it weren't people that I made a connection with at that pool party, well, that was it.
mm.
It's not like I could go to the producer, although they said that I could. So, yeah, I know we didn't talk at all, but give me your number and let me talk to you. It don't work. That doesn't feel organic. That don't seem like that's gonna work. So when things happened with Sabrina, that also derailed Tasia because I didn't trust the whole process. And
Mm.
so I come from the church, and one of the old church spirituals, like, be still, God will fight your battle. I stayed still. I'm not moving any further till I figure out what the hell is going on here. Because, I felt so disrespected with that firing squad. And it was so unfortunate that it had to go down like that.
Mm.
It's not a matter of not um it wasn't a matter that it was what the word I'm looking for, that it was of me not being a match for what Sabrina wanted, or financial things or whatever, which was a nice little running joke that they made to try to justify me being put off the show or what have you. It was more the piece that there were so many things that were taken out of context, and they used her friends, and her friends didn't know they were being used a certain type of way. They were.
Okay.
So that was the unfortunate thing. I have no resentment against the show. I can stand on my
Of
own.
course.
I don't have to prove to 2 million people what I got going on.
Of
But
course.
there was for whatever it didn't even make sense. Uh, Kofi, that was like the dumbest thing I had ever been a part of. What are we actually fussing with this man about? Where did I lie? Anywhere. A man tells a woman what he wants. Now people are going to yell at him. That makes no sense. And it
Why
was
were they yelling though? Why
huh?
were they yelling? Why were they coming at you though?
Isn't that fascinating? I don't well, I know why, because told they were told parts of the conversation. And I'm not putting this on Sabrina. They were told
No, I am.
they
No,
were
you can't say
told
it. I will.
yeah. They were told parcels of the conversation. But they didn't know the context or frankly what the hell they were talking about. But it was on purpose that you give them those parcels because they're gonna defend their
Who
girl.
gave them the parcels though?
I don't want to talk too much.
No, no. We got to answer that
But
because
but what I'm saying is like
you've been very nice, and that's cool.
I am
I'm
being
with
very
it
nice. This
because
is gonna be over.
production have nothing. I am on production's neck all the time. But if production didn't tell them, who told them? Because somebody has to tell them information for them to come out of fire squad. Now you don't have to. You don't have to throw the person under the bus. I don't want you to throw them out. I will throw them under the bus for you, because if the information is given in a certain way, if the information is given a certain way, of course they're going to come at you that way.
You
In
know
fact,
what's
the friends are not to
yes,
blame because
yes.
they can only go by what information they got given.
I'll tell you
Who
this
gave them
real
the
quick.
information?
After the firing squad, after they were done with bullets, right? I called it. They cut. I hate that they cut out my stuff. It was the Negro Inquisition. It was not a firing squad. It was the Negro Inquisition. But they cut that out. But that's what it was. It was an Inquisition. They had me walk up. It's already a hot, empty property. It was hot. I walk up. I'm dressed like an 80s lesbian comic. I mean, like I was just in my creative mode because I couldn't find my I had no more contact lenses, so I had to wear my glasses. I wore a blazer, it was rolled up. I brought a deck of cards. I was told it was going to be a Saturday hang with one of my connections. Cool. First things first, before we do that, let's rewind. That date that I had with Sabrina, the Gogi Yogi at the restaurant, that was 14 hours before the date with the friends. That was my only date with Sabrina. 14 hours later, I'm surrounded by 5 people who have been told some things to charge at me. And the only thing I could do was be mealy mouthed and make sure I did not have on tape anything that could be angry black man material. Because I wasn't going to give them that. Because I can't trust it anymore. It's not just that it's a reality show TV thing. It's like, this is totally stupid. It's like, yo, I told a woman that I don't want to hurt her down the road if we get to liking each other because we may want different things. Sabrina at that time said she did not want children. She was done. What is the controversy? Woman yells at me and say, "Are you running game?" How? Let's define that plot. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That was like a coached line. Like who told her to say that? Are you running game? What's the game plan? Yes, I'm going to get this woman to like me, but then I'm going to tell her I might hurt her later. This is all fitting in perfectly. What is the game plan there? Like what? I'm going to use her? I'm setting up the usage? I'm being upfront about what I want on a dating show. I'm a black man being intentional about what I want. And if Sabrina can't give it to me, then I'm going to try to find someone who can. If she's a match, we had one date. So it was just dumb. And then afterwards, when the cameras, when they say cut and they like, all right, Shawn, thanks. And afterwards, they're like, oh, we didn't know that y'all were only together for blah, blah, blah. They're thinking it was a longer term situation. They expressed some of their concerns about people rushing to relationships for other reasons. They all give me their pound of flesh stories about, yeah, I used to be married and I was the same way, brother. Or I used to be this way and I had that going on. And I'm like, that's great. But in my mind, I'm like, you already gave them what they wanted. Footage of people acting like there's something seriously wrong here. And even if it ain't nothing seriously wrong, it sure does look it. So now we have a moment. And that's the one thing I did not want to have, was a trumped up reality TV moment.
So my question is I'm going to ask some hard questions. Did Sabrina ever correct the friends that it was kids the context? Because we heard you explain the context of kids, but did Sabrina explain that it was kids, the context of the conversation?
I do not know.
I mean, while you were there, I mean,
here's my understanding. Just to put it out there, my understanding is that while she was being mic'd, a producer or two may have told them what Shawn had said in their last date, and therefore they were like, well, you got these questions, get them. I didn't even get hey, how you doing? Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? I'm from the South. So we asking, tell us about your mom and them. What your daddy did? And where are they from? What are they about? What are you about? What do you do? Where'd you go to school? Oh, okay, cool. Those are the things you have as friends. So it was edited backwards. Again, going back to editing backwards. We know Walt and Sabrina are a burgeoning storyline. Now that we know how things are going, we can edit backwards and create a contrast to Walt by making Shawn look like a dope. So I'm still frustrated about the whole thing. I appreciate the show for what it was, but a lie is a lie. And omission, the lie of omission is the most prevalent lie. The last president we had does it all the time. So yeah, that was the story. And then there were other things that were edited out there too, of course. The Biller 2 thing.
Yes, the Biller 2 thing. What happened there?
Yes, let's talk about that. The question was, are you a provider? The actual answer was, I will give her whatever I have. And as we matriculate into boyfriend and girlfriend, if that happens, I will pay a bill or two. It was sarcasm like, hey, Mariah Carey, can you sing karaoke? I can sing a note or two. That was the full answer. And you've been on this interview with me. I can give some long answers. So they just cut it up.
Okay. So for you, it was sarcasm, as you were saying, and paying a bit or two.
Yeah, but the original answer was, I will give her whatever I have. I think it's weird that you're asking questions about providing for people when we just had one.
You're not married. Yeah, exactly. I get that. I'm with you, bro. I think that's a weird question on first date.
There were a couple of weird questions, quite frankly. But there's some stuff that was cut out too. Like they were asking about my mother, my relationship with my mother. Are you sure you have a good relationship with your mother? There was a bunch of things that was just so off-putting. And people don't act like that in real life unless they're provoked or chased to do so. And so that's kind of what happened. And I don't even want to charge at them on a personal level, especially not Sabrina, because Sabrina and I, we still talk. We're friends. But it was an unfortunate way it went down. And then, people ham it up later, blood on the floor comments, stuff like that. But that made me not trust things after that.
Okay. So obviously, I just want to just make sure everything's very clear because, I have to make sure it's clear, So we're saying there's a mix because the main contention was the Bills and the firing squad. Okay. All right. So we're saying that there were shadows that pushed the firing squad to start shooting. Is that what we're saying?
That's right.
Right. There were shadows that were pulling some strings to get the firing squad to start shooting.
They didn't know me from Adam. Where would they get these pieces of information? And even with the pieces of information, why the hell are they so mad about it? Seriously, like it was poised as if maybe Shawn is going to ask Sabrina's hand in marriage and you all need to scrutinize this gentleman. That's the level of scrutiny that was there. It wasn't like, oh, we had a date last night, because it was last night. We had a date last night. I'm here this morning. And it'd be good to hang out with you guys and see what you're about. And what can you tell me about Sabrina? What can I tell you about me? That was not the plan. Okay. And so in realizing that, because I'm not stupid, I wasn't going to do a bunch of yelling. I wasn't going to point fingers. I wasn't going to walk out. I was going to sit in that small ass chair that they gave me from a Barbie house and with my knees all the way up, sunken in, like they put me in, because that's where they had me, and watch 5 people, in my personal opinion, make fools of themselves at my expense.
So then I'm going to ask a tough question. They're friends of Sabrina. So did you guys have this conversation already?
Mm-hmm.
Have you had that conversation? Did you bring that up to Sabrina to say that the firing squad was shooting way too much?
Oh yeah, she knows.
Okay.
She knows. Right after that, I mean, I'm getting ready to leave. We give each other a hug, and she gives me one of those, like, I'm sorry type of thing. Like, all right, I get home, think about it. I'm like, that was totally bogus. Why was that even like that? And I put it down in words. I don't want to yell or shout. I text it all out because I use my words well. And I've just put them down, a lengthy text message, send it off, and I'll see you when I see you. But let it be known, Sabrina and I are very cool. We had a 3-hour conversation just the other day, and I donated to that fund because of her mother being dead. So don't get it twisted. This was something that no one really wanted to happen. Was it more preventable? Possibly.
Well, someone's got to get the blame, because someone's got to get the blame. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, right now, the blame is being shared. Someone has got to get the blame. Either the shadows are being blamed, the friends are being blamed, or maybe Sabrina didn't get the information. Someone's got to be blamed for this because it happened.
Yeah, I understand this is catnip for everybody, but for me, I just want to get my story out there. It wasn't a bill or two. The whole thing about my life as a man and what I expect men to be is that we're providers first. If you can't do nothing, for sure we're providers. But why are we having this conversation with someone I met and had a date with 15 hours ago? I understand things have to be escalated for a show. Why am I being fussed at about all these things? You know what would have been a nice question? If you asked me what I do. How about we get to that first? I'd rather have the damn credit score question. 780. What else you got? Let's have a talk. Like, what are your intentions? What do you see yourself with Sabrina in the long term? Those are actually more interesting things than a very cringeworthy, overly edited hit piece. Because they're editing backwards. Because they need to contrast Shawn with Walter as a potential interest for Sabrina.
I agree.
Because here's the thing, Kofi, there's no date that Walter and Sabrina have on camera beforehand. So where did this romantic interest come from? Unless you edit backwards, right? And start producing it to curate the story that you know could come to play in the end. Let's use common sense, folks. The only way we could do this, Shawn doesn't seem to have that many connections. So he might be disposable anyway. Let's move that along.
No, I think you just said something there. You said, I was just going to pick up on it because you said it. You said there wasn't much dates between Sabrina and Walter. You said it. I didn't say it.
I'll tell you, there was a date. There was a date. It was a group date. That whole date got cut, but we all went to it was my first actual date after the pool party. It was Shawn, Sabrina, Walter, Phil, Tasia, Shiloh, and we go-karted in threes. My go-kart session was against Tasia and Sabrina. The other 3 had their go-kart session, Walter, Shiloh, and Phil. That whole thing was edited. So there's no footage of Walter and Sabrina with the exception of that tender conversation they had in the beginning. But we're 5 episodes in. I know how to tell a story. I got a novel right over there. It's 252 pages.
You might have to help at this point.
I've written some plays. I know how to tell some stories. There's some plot points that are missing.
There's a lot. You might need to apply. I'm not even mean that as a joke. I mean it seriously, bro. This season has been the worst story. Listen, I've said it, man. Listen, I'm here to rock with the show, but this has been the worst storytelling of the season. Of this, all the seasons, this is the worst one.
Yeah.
It's lacking continuity. It's lacking a subplot. It's lacking. I don't think we've got a beginning, middle, and end. We barely got that.
Context.
You know what I mean?
It's
Yeah.
lacking context. It's like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? Because they know the ending and they have to try to make it make sense, as the young man said to me, which real G's still don't say make it make sense. Real G's just don't say that. But yeah, so because they are, at least for the last episode that just was revealed, you know, Walter and Sabrina, that's a potential thing. That's why there were 2 friend dates. And Sabrina will probably, I'm not gonna put words in Sabrina's mouth, but Sabrina will say, I don't have any top connections. I just have connections, because she said, like she said last on the show, I've been reaching out to people. I've been giving the texts and saying good morning, but no one's been reaching back out to me. So how strongly was that really getting somewhere? The next week, Sabrina's on the elimination block after I'm gone. Storytelling 101. They got to make it make sense.
But it doesn't make sense.
They had 2 friends dates and separate. You know what would have been nice? I rather would have had like a Dante Walter team up. We could have both been there and they could have just had a conversation. That would have taken some of the heat off. But they needed heat on.
I'm hearing you on that. Was there anything else that happened on the show that you would like us to know that happened? Anything else that was on the show that was like, oh, we didn't see that? Y'all should have known about that.
There's stuff that I've heard about that I can't speak to. I've heard about it. And quite frankly, my time was so short on the show. I didn't I didn't see the justification for that much drama from me, because I was literally asking questions. I'm cracking jokes. None of those things are shown. None of my personality, it's on the cutting room floor because they know I'm not going to be there long. Disposable. The guy who came in the middle.
Okay.
So yeah. So I'll give you whatever I have, and I can take care of a bill or two. Like, you want to get your nails done? You want to go to a concert with your girls? I'll take that too. I'll take over everything if you want to be my wife. But we just met 15 hours ago.
I'm with you on that, bro. I think it's ludicrous for anybody to try and pay all the bills when you're just a girlfriend.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's bad.
But moving forward, like, I appreciate the experience of the show. It was just that last bit that gave me a bad taste in my mouth, and possibly cut short any time I could have developing with say a Tasia, because Tasia and I are very cool, and I didn't like that those conversations were not shown enough, because I like her, and it's just unfortunate that was the story that they decided to tell.
I hear that. Okay. Any regrets going on the show? What are your, like? Would you say there are any regrets going on the show?
Regrets that I would have going on the show? No, because I am me. I was who I was.
Okay.
I didn't betray anything, so I feel good about that. I didn't sully my mother or my father's name. And in fact, all my mom cared about, boy, you look good on TV. That's all she cared about. She didn't, any of them girls for you, Shawn? Mom, I don't know. And that's the God's honest truth. I don't know if she was there. I might have had a better shot with some of the women as what in accumulation with Tasia who were eliminated. So if some of those women were still there, like, I would have a fun dating pool with Carrie, Courtney, and Libba. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think fellas messed up when they got rid of somebody.
They did. What would you say are the changes I asked everybody this who comes out now. What are the changes you feel Ready to Love can make to make this show better? Because I feel we're at a crucible, right? We're at a point, we're at a dangerous place with this show. I mean, dangerous in the sense of that we are, as viewers, we're on edge. We're like, the next one is going to be like this. We're just leaving it alone. Do you know what I mean? So, what would you say are the changes that would help make this show better? You know what I
I
mean?
thought about writing someone a letter, but I'm like, damn, I'll be doing their job for them. I'm going to write it anyway, because I appreciate the time on the show and I appreciate being picked. You know, first of all, let me tell you the first error they did. They looked at it from a California perspective, a Hollywood perspective. They brought two beautiful, sexy people supposedly on the show in the middle of the game, but they only wanted to highlight their sex appeal. Well, at least with me. I think they were like, oh, he's just a piece of meat and he'll do whatever. He'll just go along and get along. There's so many things that are to us. So I would say to the show, let love work organically, right? Maybe look at your casting in the whole of it, because the women I date and see in DC, they are bohemian G's. You know what I mean? They have dreads, they have twists, they have naturals, if they got hair at all, you know, but they can wear an Ankh tattoo and go to Erykah Badu's concert the night before. They have a big business presentation and they're wearing their business suits. Those are the women I mess with in DC. That's been the husk of my existence. And they can also like have a mason jar full of something and sip it at whatever cookout or get down you got. Not that these women were not that, but there was some kind of disconnect, I believe, because they were so eager to make it in the DC market, right? Because that's the strategy of the show. We core our brand in these urban centers of viewers. You go to Atlanta twice, you go to Houston twice. They're gonna do DC and they're gonna try to get that going. And so they just need to let love do the work and sort of maybe dial it back a little bit from some of the drama that's been cooked up. But I don't know. Reality is not my bag. I would just think like a simple specter of having people together. That's the other thing too. I'll say that people should hang out a little bit more together, all of us, so we can have more of a connection with folks. Where you connect with people when they're connecting with each other. I don't see like, even if you take away my time at the pool, there weren't many group opportunities for everyone to get to know each other outside of that mansion. Why not have another one or two collective wholesale parties? Then you could actually get some juicy stuff. Some people are going to start gossiping about each other. You're going to get camera stuff that's going to be said about folks. You know, Real World did a little bit. I used to love the Real World. So that means you show people outside of just the silo of dating. I'll tell you this, Kofi, I was so disenchanted. I look at everybody else's dates. They putting, they working out, they're hiking, they doing all this stuff. And I have to be the let's sit down and have a meal and a discussion man. Like, what? Why can't I do a fun? Like, let me putt. I golf. Let me go to Top Golf. Let me bowl. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Shawn, you sit down and discuss what you want from these women. That's so missed opportunity. Put it that way, missed opportunity.
I am with you, bro. And I think I honestly genuinely do believe we have an opportunity to sculpt and mold the show's direction if we can speak loud enough, because honestly,
y'all are the fans.
We're the fans, right? So, you know, and you know, because the show is it's going down. I ain't gonna lie to you kids. I love the show. I loved it in the first 2 seasons because, like you said, it was authentic, right? But now it's getting to a point where and drama is easily created. Like, you don't need to do the extra stuff. You know, when someone's being extra, that friend that does extra stuff when they don't need to do extra stuff, that's Ready to Love right now. They're doing extra stuff when we don't need to do extra stuff. There's so much drama on the table already with human beings and dating. We struggle to date. That's why we're on the show, right? So we don't need extra stuff that's unnecessary cuts. Like, I think you're right. I think if you allow people to get to know each other, allow people to kind of have time with one another, it's naturally going to play out some madness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because some people might feel more desperate than others. Stuff will happen, like just let the camera run and let people be people, yeah, that's what I think. But I've heard these things about the show. That's the first thing I would say. Just look at your casting process and let people like actually commune with each other, and then see who couples up and who doesn't couple up. You can still bring on the girlfriends, date with the girlfriends, or the date with the whatever. You can still do those sorts of things as wrinkles. I will say this: if you bring people in the middle, though, and you're about to have like friends dates, they should be exempt from the friends dates.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Even Sabrina and I talk about it. Hey, I just had a date with this guy yesterday. Why is he meeting all my friends? To and I talked about that sort of thing too. So
I get that. Well, Shawn,
and by the way, real quick.
If we can support, I was going to say anything we can support. Is you got anything out that we can support you with?
Yes. And I've been calling you Kofi because one of my good friends is Kofi. But
that's all good.
Kojo, I really apologize.
I don't really mind.
Correct me once.
That's Kofi,
me, brother.
Yeah, no, do you know? I was laughing because my dad's called Kofi in it, so I found it funny. That's why I was trying to see how many times would he say Kofi before the end. So I found it funny.
If anyone is like counting, could you give us a word count on how many times?
I'm gonna try and count it later on. I want to see how many we got on there.
But yeah, I got a great friend named Kofi, and maybe because you're so relaxed of the interview. But yeah, if you don't mind, let me tell people a little bit about my book.
Please go ahead, man. No problem at all, bro.
This is the book. It is called Broke, a novel on men trying to get it together. You got the shattered glass and someone smoking a cigar. That to me was the model, by Shawn Durham. It was originally released in 2013. It's packaged now. It's edited. It's cleaner, not cleaner in content, but it's like a real read. And it's also available in hardback. So you can get this on Amazon, in my website, or if you DM me, I can send you some signed copies. If you get a signed copy from me, go to at Shawn Durham Inc. If you get a signed copy from me, it'll be $20 for the paperback, $25 for the hardcover, which is similar prices on Amazon, except you won't get a signature. But if you want to do it on Amazon, if you want to do it on Kindle, you can do that as well. I'm told that maybe I should do the audio version of it. That's a lot of reading, but it's a good story. It's about four men who get together, led by one man who's very bitter about a relationship with his baby mama. He's a good guy, but he's also kind of a chump. And he sets up this organizational movement called the Broke Brothers Revolution, where these four men of different walks of life get together and try to lead men to protest ladies' nights, anything that's patronizing women because they think there's an imbalance in the dating spectrum. They're going to fail miserably because they're idiots. But because of this, they're getting together. It becomes sort of like the backdoor. The backdoor plot is that these are four men who have differing views on life and things that are going on with them. And we try to find out if these men are broke, men who can't afford things, or are they broken men and need to be fixed so they can be right for the world and right in 21st century. So it's a comedy drama with a silly premise. It's really funny. It's sexy in parts. It's modern. It's fresh. It's something that Will Packer should produce if he'll talk to me.
Come on, no.
But it's good. Come on, Will. I got some Kangos for you. You like those Kangos. Come on, Will. Come on, Will.
Got some Kangos,
Yeah, but it's a great book. Again, it's called Broke. And that's BRO, and that's the male symbol for man right there. Mm-hmm. Broke with a period. A novel on men trying to get themselves together.
Okay. Never a problem at all, bro. Never a problem at all. Yeah.
And the one-man show that I did was based off the novel somewhat. Coming spring, we're gonna do the one-man show again. So hopefully take that on the road. So y'all keep in touch with me. Check me out on Instagram at Shawn Durham Inc. And my website will be fresh and ready to go on my birthday, Friday, on Shawnmas, December 10th.
My guy, Listen, Shawn, it has been an absolutely amazing. Oh, they're asking, is there an audio format for the book?
Not an audio form for it yet.
Not yet.
Is there an order form or an audio form?
Audio.
Audio.
Not yet.
Audio.
Not yet.
Audio, not yet.
Okay.
I have an audio play that I'm working on
Beautiful.
turning to Audible, and then I'm going to work on the book's audio probably come spring, but not yet. Not yet. It's an easy read, guys. Y'all can do it. 250 pages. Y'all can do it. Y'all can do it. I know you can. You can do it.
Some of us are audios. We like audios, you know. I like to listen to the go. But listen, Shawn, this has been an excellent conversation. I said it to you before behind the scenes. I love the fact that you're an intellectual individual person. I knew this conversation would go really, really well. You know, I want to thank you for coming on here and sharing your story, being open, being transparent, and just kind of just being free with what you're saying. You know, I think we had a little moment where we connected as well, and just in similar experiences. So I hope people in the audience enjoyed the interview. It looks like they did. I know they banter as they do, but you know, I think you've presented yourself very, very well. And as somebody said, the DMs will potentially be very, very full later on. You know, they may banter here, but they end up in the DMs after. You understand? Yeah. Sometimes it's just for show. You know how it be. But someone asked, the Kofi that you know, is it Kofi Scribo? Is it Scribo? How you say his name? Scribo? How do you say his name?
Kofi Sidibe?
Is that how you say his name?
Not Sidibe, Sirbo. Yeah, that bro. No, I don't know that Kofi. No, not that.
Because I was about
what
to
was that? Raph Angel? That's the Raph Angel boy. The one
I was about to say
who like dips his chin into all of the tar to make his hair that black. Like,
yes,
that's
I was about to say, wow, if you knew him, you know, let's get that connection going. I mean,
man, if I knew him, we'd be doing a movie.
Yeah, fair enough. Real spit. He's a great actor though. But yeah, no. Again, thank you so much, Shawn, again, for sharing yourself. Audience members, thank you once more. My new name is Kofi now, so I want to be addressed as Kofi. I don't want to be addressed as Kofi anymore, guys. All right. I've got 2 names now. No, but I appreciate Shawn. It's vibes. So
Kojo, thank you so much, brother.
No worries, brother. No worries. Audience, good luck. We'll see you soon. Stay locked and stay loaded. And maybe we'll have another chat sometime soon. Much love. And Happy New Year and New Christmas, because I won't be here for that. So we'll go to this. Little Black.